Greetings, everybody. Hello, fit like loons and quines. Welcome from bonny Scotland, or not so bonny, 'cause it's pishing doon. Well, wasn't too bad today, I guess, but a bit of a change from, mind you, when I was broadcasting last week from Austin at roughly this time, it was torrential rain there. Although the rest of the time, when I was in Texas, it was sunny. So it was raining there too. Maybe it's me. Maybe the rain is following me. I see D-Bud, you dropped in earlier. Hope you're still here, buddy. Hopefully a few others will join us too for this. I'm on the road, so I thought I'd still try and keep my weekly slot going. Despite the fact I'm doing this without the aid of a safety net using one laptop, so it might get a little fiddly occasionally as I flip between screens and do stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, here I am back in the ancestral homeland, where the land where Kirk isn't just a starship captain, it's another name for a church. In fact, the land where we say borough and not burg. So Edinburgh, not Edinburgh, even though it isn't spelt borough, but Edinburgh. So it's interesting to be back here because I kind of hear just how mild my own accent can be, given I've lived away for such a long time. And this part of the north of Scotland, strictly speaking, isn't the Highlands, it's Morayshire, north of Scotland, the Moray Firth coast. They have their own very, very different accent from many other parts of Scotland. Certainly different from Glaswegian or any Edinburgh or any of those, or even the actual West Highlands. So here it's all fit like quine and loon and that kind of thing, and I find it hard to do myself, even though I used to live up here. So yes, I am with the thundercloud always overhead. It's a Peanuts reference, I think. Lindsay, greetings and hail to you too. I get the tablet over the side so I can see the chats coming in. But as I say, here I am in the ancestral homeland, the semi-ruined ancient castle Ploppy, which comprises the 70s rock fan Family Pile. This ancient old ruin, and by that I mean the building, not me, is... And from the turret of this building, I can see, if I look out the window here, first of all, if I look down, I can see Bran Stark lying on the ground. But if I look further into the distance, I can see across the glens, there's the Glen Campbell and the Glen Larson and the Glen de Jackson and all the other glens. And then beyond those, there's the misty blue hills. And those hills are covered with the bonny purple heather. Now, Heather's a lovely lass, but she really should put some clothes on, which it's no wonder that she's purple, because it's bloody brassic here. You could freeze the balls off a brass monkey. It's pretty cold. Maybe not as cold as Canada, but it's cold. I can see things like... if I look into the distance, I can see those cute little three-legged animals, the haggis, frolicking in the torrential rain. They have 3 legs, because one is longer than the other. So it means they can only run round the mountains in one direction. It's a bit of an evolutionary dead end, the haggis. There's also fields full of Angus cattle, the hairy coos, which... I've got those big, nasty, pointy horns, so you don't want to get too close to those. And, of course, there are many blue-faced, kilted Scottish warriors tending lovingly to their ewes. In fact, there were so many sheep on the plain on the way to Aberdeen, so many sheep in the fields below it, I almost jumped out. Again, the news is glistening in the rain. Hail to low-spec Linux laptop. Now, Lindsay, you're curious to try Haggis. Well, it is a one-time deal, though. You know, because once you've tried it once, you probably wouldn't try it again. Now, I don't know. I mean, I have to say that I used to believe that as well. It's because traditionally it was sheep's stomach or bladder, one or the other. What difference does it make, really? Filled with minced up lungs and heart and intestines, and with a bit of oatmeal and spices, cooked, and then you'd split that open and eat it. Now, it may well not be quite as unsophisticated as that now. I actually find haggis quite tasty. It's very spicy, lots of pepper. If you don't have to use offal, as it were. You can use proper meat. It's actually not that bad. Gomer, Kyle, hail to you. Thank you for joining me. Haggis isn't that bad, especially if it's with some really good gravy. You eat with neeps and tatties, mashed potato, turnip, boiled to a nice soft consistency, and gravy, lots of meaty gravy. So also when I look outside, I can see in the distance Clancy Brown wielding a huge sword, looking for a Frenchman playing a Scotsman, and a Scotsman playing a Spaniard. Okay, I may have made that last bit up, because really all there is outside is a car park in the hotel. And car parks look pretty much the same everywhere in the world, I have to say, even here in the far north of Scotland. Now, what there is, and my apologies in advance, is that the internet has been dropping in and out in this hotel all day. I looked outside earlier, and the donkey that was going around with a carrot in front of it, turning the wheel, had fallen asleep, so we have to keep going out prodding it. And that is charging the 12-volt car battery connected to the Motorola brick. So the internet may be a little bit not fit for purpose occasionally, but so far so good. At least my battery won't run out this week because I got the damn thing plugged in. So we're good. Now, yes, indeed. So here I am in the ancestral homeland.
Scotland. For Scotland.
Sons of Scotland!
Welcome to Scotland.
At least two of those guys weren't Scottish, but what the hell. And of course, sheep. Everyone talks about sheep, and there are a lot of sheep here, but sheep are a major. There's two major, apart from all the other things Scotland invented, because we invented lots of things and we were a big engineering country for years until they decided that they would scupper that by moving it all abroad and so on. But we had the woolen industry, lots of wool mills still today, cashmere and all that stuff. So sheep are big for that. But the other thing they're big for is that they're not just pretty to look at, they provide a valuable ingredient in our national drink, which is whisky. Because if you've got millions of sheep peeing in the rivers, it's going to have some effect. I mean, that's working its way into the product, into the whiskey, I would say. So, hail Cosmic Squirrel. So I would say that it's probably, there's a certain element of taste added there you wouldn't get anywhere else in the world, you know.
Whiskey!
Scotch? Aye.
Would you care for a wee nip of Scotch whisky?
Aye, so you never know what's in that whiskey, because, Christian, hail to you. Christian Delorme, good to see you. You never know what's in that whiskey. It's not just water, you know. And as you can see, I mean, in my 25 years on the planet, drinking that hasn't done me any harm at all. So, I am only 25. Well, perhaps not, but yeah. So actually, I'm going to play that clip again because I like this so much.
Whiskey!
Scotch? Aye.
Would you care for a wee nip of Scotch whisky?
I particularly like the first one. Whiskey, where he says, and it's funny because James Doohan being Canadian, and when you hear him talking in his real accent, it's just weird. And he does a really good Scottish accent. It's hard to do. Maybe not as hard for a Canadian because obviously there's huge Scottish influence there. But he sounds like he's based it on somebody from the Aberdeen area, which isn't that far from here. So he kind of sounds a bit like that, and he's yeah, I get better looking after every shot. I'm not so sure about that one. I'm sorry if I'm not highlighting these chats on screen so much because as I say, I've only got the laptop and I've got the tablet here, and I've got so many things lined up and windows open to show things, and I'm worried I'm going to lose my place. But I will highlight some later, and I'm certainly reading them all at the side here. So yeah, Billy Connolly said playing an Irishman in the Boondock Saints movies felt like a traitor, and I think he's right. I mean, it really annoys me that when I think they even made Sean Connery do it in a couple of movies. Although Untouchables is a great movie, but he was pretty much playing an Irishman with a Scottish accent. And then they did the same in that movie with Dustin Hoffman, where they were a family of Irish mob guys or something. They're going to cast Billy Connolly. Why don't they just make him Scottish? I never understood that. Make the character Scottish. I guess the whole point was the Boondock Saints were Irish, so the other guys, Daryl and not Daryl, the actor that plays Daryl, who I've met and I can't even remember his name now because I'm old and dumb. Walking Dead actor. Why don't you just pull me outside and shoot me? Because I can't remember. Just completely got it, man. Yeah, I mean, I guess they were meant to be Irish, so I get that. But, Billy's a Scottish legend. Not doing too well health-wise these days, but because he's not the only Scottish legend around.
James Bond.
I'd like, Give me a ping, Vasily. One ping only, please.
You think you're pretty smart, don't you, Trebek?
Let's hope the last one doesn't get me copyright struck already. But excuse me. I need more whiskey in that tea. Funny thing about those clips there is that I love that Rob Brydon one is from The Trip, where he and Steve Coogan they just sit and just do these impressions all day. If you've never seen The Trip, there's about 5 of them. A trip to Rome, trip to Italy, whatever, trip to Greece. And Rob Brydon is the best Sean Connery. He's fantastic. But yes, Connery may well be king, but and Courtney, you may well love Connery, but I'm not quite sure how you feel about this clip.
You sound like a cop to me.
Good old-fashioned Bond, right there. So now I have a few of you here. I wanted to try something which may well result in me. I mean, I don't care about copyright claims, but I may well get copyright. I don't want to get the stream interrupted for this, but I wanted to play a song. It's a video. Well, it's a video really, but it's a still photo of the singer. It's not an actual video, although there's a few of them kicking around somewhere, I've noticed. So many people have argued over the years who is the greatest Scottish singer of all time. Is it Rod Stewart? Is it Lulu? Was it Alex Harvey? If you're into the prog rock stuff like I am, Alex Harvey, fantastic Scottish singer. Jerry Rafferty, Baker Street and Stuck in the Middle with You and stuff like that, and there's many more. There's many groups here and there. Who could forget the legendary Bay City Rollers, of course, who I once heard rehearsing as a kid. But never mind. But in actual fact, they're all wrong. None of those are the best ever. The best is a guy called Andy Stewart, who's a total legend, or was a total legend. And I'm going to play possibly the greatest song ever written in or about Scotland. And let's hope the sound works and everything. So this is the legendary Donald, Where's Your Trousers by Andy Stewart.
I've just come down from the Isle of Skye. I'm no very big and I'm awful shy, and the lassies shout when I go by, Donald, where's your trousers? Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in my kit I'll go. All the lassies say hello, Donald, where's your trousers? A lassie took me to a ball, and it was slippery in the hall, and I was feared that I would fall, for I had me on my trousers. Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in my kit I'll go. All the lassies say hello, Donald, where's your trousers? Now I went down to London town, and I had some fun in the underground. The ladies turned their heads around, saying, Donald, where are your trousers? Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in my kit I'll go. All the lassies say hello, Donald, where's your trousers? To wear the kilt is my delight. It is not wrong, I know it's right. The islanders would get a fright if they saw me in the trousers. The wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in my kit I'll go. All the lassies say hello, Donald, where's your trousers? The lassies want me, everyone will let them catch me if they can. You can't take the breeks off a Highland man, and I don't wear the trousers. Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in my kit I'll go. All the lassies say hello, Donald, where's your trousers? Donald, where's your trousers? Donald,
This is where it gets weird.
Well, that's the way we sing the song in Scotland. But of course, the song might have more international appeal, sung something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, I've just come down from the Isle of Scotland. I'm nowhere big and I'm awful shy. The lassie shout when I go by. Let the wind blow, let the wind blow, through the streets of my field I go. All the lassies shout, go, go. I don't know how way to do it. Oh man, I gotta rock and roll. I gotta move it and groove it to save my soul. Grab your kill and go, go, go. I don't know how way to do it. Let the wind blow, let the wind blow low, through the streets of my field I go. Oh yeah, go, go, go. I don't know how way to do it. I've just come down from the Isle of Skye. I'm no very big and I'm awful shy, and the lassies shout when I go by, Donald, where's your trousers? Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in my kit I'll go. All the lassies say hello, Donald, where's your trousers? Donald, where's your trousers?
Well, Andy Stewart, the man, the myth, absolute freaking magic. Yeah, Donald wears your trousers. That's a real party piece when you're growing up as a kid to learn that one and sing it. No, it's funny actually. Andy Stewart was a really, really good tenor singer. I mean, he did that when it was kind of a pop hit in the early 60s. But I do have a lot of respect for the guy because he sang this fantastic song called A Scottish Soldier. It's possibly one of the greatest sort of songs about being in the army ever written, and it was about Second World War. It was out during the Second World War. It was my Uncle Bill's favourite song of all time, and he was in the army and during the war and landed in D-Day in Normandy and whatever. So that actually means that song means a lot to our family. So, but that one's a lot of fun. I should have brought my kilt with me. I could have worn it, but I didn't because it's awful heavy, and my suitcase was heavy enough as it was. So. But yes, it is a good drinking song. It's a good drinking, and then when a lot of drink goes on and there's a lot of kilts, you know, as he says in the song, the ladies all want to go with him. So, you know, what can I say? But yeah, he was definitely doing an Elvis at the end there, Gomer. Hey, Raquel. And Rough Girl, you dirty, dirty girl. Oh, dear. But yeah, he does a great Elvis. But there is a clip of him on Top of the Pops, in British TV show, actually performing that and doing the rock and roll kind of dancing with a kilt on. It's actually quite amusing, one must say. Yeah, so I didn't get the stream didn't get shut down. I thought it might get that's copyrighted stuff that, so I didn't actually get away with that. Who knew? So let's see how you guys are all getting on in there. Oh right, so you mentioned a couple of bands, Courtney. Nazareth, obviously a huge influence in me growing up in the 70s, Scottish hard rock band. Hair of the Dog, one of their best songs ever, and one of the best rock songs ever. In fact, I must play that on my radio show next time. In fact, there's a really good live video of Nazareth performing in Houston on YouTube in 1982, I think it is, when they were a 5-piece and doing a very extended version of Hair of the Dog. It absolutely rocks. Absolutely is fantastic. And the Rosillos, yes, the Rosillos, I actually saw the Rosillos live once. Another good band from that era, Courtney, would be the Skids, who then morphed into Big Country, which is another one of my favourite Scottish bands. Pure Stuart Adamson, an unfortunate end, but yeah. So music-wise, that's actually interesting that you want to slip into a little discussion of music, because there was something I wanted to say, apart from it's better to burn out than fade away, which is also connected to what I wanted to talk about. Oh, Glass Tiger's my town, yeah. Yeah, I have heard that, yes, indeed. But Flogging Molly, I've got a couple of their singles, 7-inch singles actually, on vinyl, funnily enough. But Irish, well, but we don't talk about the Irish. So music, yes, well, I mean, it's been covered a lot. Everyone's been talking about Neil Young and the other people that have been pulling their music from Spotify, and about Joe Rogan. And I've never been, not like I'm a big Joe Rogan fan. 4-hour podcasts are not my cup of tea. That's a large percentage of my remaining lifetime watching something for 4 hours. It's but I have to say that I was, for many, many years, an enormous fan of Neil Young through the 70s and 80s and 90s. But I've got very little respect for him now, and it's not just because of this latest episode. Well, first of all, I don't think he's made a great record album. I don't think he's made a great album since Ragged Glory. I mean, that's back in 95, if not earlier. Harvest Moon before that was pretty good. But since then, it's been extremely patchy material. There's been whole albums of nonsense. But I just have a really hard time with guys like him. I mean, he once said he didn't want to be in the middle of the road. He always wanted to be in the ditch. And now I see him firmly, in effect, being not only middle of the road, but establishment to the core. Following an establishment narrative of big government, big tech, big music, big media. And it's not that he's not entitled to his opinion. This is the issue. He's entitled to his opinion only, though, when his opinion is not that somebody else's opinion should be cancelled. Then you're not entitled to that opinion, in my opinion. There's layers of opinion here. So I have no respect for that point of view. Like, it would have been easier to say nothing, or to say, I challenge you to a debate, Joe, or whatever. Now, Joe Rogan I have very little respect for in some ways too now, because all he's done is cave now and bow to the mob. And if you bow to the mob will own you. They always will. He should never have accepted the initial premise of Neil Young's carefully scripted for him argument. And the example I always like to use about this is Bob Dylan. So Bob Dylan, back in the days when he was a folk music hero, gained an awful lot of aggro. Got an awful lot of aggro when he went electric. And there's a famous recording of him at the Manchester Free Trade Hall in 1965, where he was beginning to bring the electric stuff into his act, and the folkies did not like it. So the somebody in the you probably all know this anyway, but somebody in the crowd shouts, "Judas!" He immediately stops what he's doing, Bob Dylan, and says, "You're a liar. I don't believe you." Now, that's exactly the way to deal with such an attack, like Neil Young's attack on Joe Rogan, or any of these attacks that are ad hominem. I've decreed that you are something, and I don't want you cancelled. Don't accept their premise. Bob Dylan refused to accept the premise that this guy had the right to say anything like that to him. Because it's his art, his words, his music, his expression, whatever. He refused to accept the premise that he was some kind of Judas. So you don't even argue on those premises. Don't accept the premise. And Joe Rogan, unfortunately, immediately accepted the premise and started apologizing. So, bad move. If it was me, and I'm not a multi-$100 million podcaster, I would have said, I do not accept your criticism. However, I'm willing to have you come onto my show and you can say whatever you want and discuss it in any way you want, and you can bring people with you if you want. And let's have a debate about it, and you can explain exactly what you mean by this Orwellian term, disinformation or misinformation. And then let's face it, they're not attacking Rogan so much as the people that he had on. And I don't want to really get into that as such. And I don't even really particularly normally enjoy talking about heavy political stuff in here because we want to have some fun, and we will have some fun in a minute or two, I hope. But I'm very disappointed in Neil Young. And I was disappointed in when he quite frankly, when he ditched his wife to go off with Daryl Hannah, Hollywood, whatever. He ditched Peggy after all those years, divorced her just so he could be with Daryl Hannah. And that's as Hollywood as you can get, and he's now in that bubble. So there's not really a lot of rock and roll and rebellion going on there. I mean, this is a guy who made an entire album, basically excoriating Monsanto and big big agriculture. But now he seems to be shilling for big pharma. He doesn't see that. I don't know. I mean, perhaps he should remake This Notes for You and call it This Notes for insert name of pharmaceutical company here. This time it wouldn't be an ironic piss take, it would be for real. But that's just my opinion. Who am I? I'm just an ordinary guy. I mean, certainly the man made some outstanding records. As I say, I don't think I've really liked one since Ragged Glory, but as soon as you start saying, I'm going to censor your speech, then you can no longer claim that you are for free speech. So, but anyway, yeah, I love the Bob Dylan reference because he refused to accept anybody's premise when it came to that kind of thing. He would only debate it on his own terms, and I think that's right. So, but anyway, that's enough about that. I mean, Spotify will live or die by their own decisions, and those artists. I'm also disappointed in Graham Nash being a working class kid from Manchester, that he's clearly such an establishment believer now. So, that's just me. Musically, I really think that Neil's not been on top of things for a long time anyway. So perhaps he was just trying to get a bit of relevance. I know he's got this new barn thing with Crazy Horse out, and I have to actually say that last time I saw Neil and Crazy Horse in Glasgow, it was possibly one of the more disappointing gigs I've ever been at. Because I really thought he was only putting in like 20% effort, in my opinion. But anywho, didn't want to linger on that. But that's enough of that. nonsense, I would say. So the other thing, without again getting too political or heavy about Hazax, by the way. Good to see you, Gomer. Might have said hello already to you. If I've missed anybody, my apologies, because I'm trying to, as I say, I'm trying to do this on kind of one screen. And normally I got the 3 screens up, and and my hands are going like this. So I'm just going to I was going to show you something. Oh, I know what to talk about, right? So for that, I'll just I've spent some time putting together all of these Scottish clips. This one's more related to just how awful Scotland can be.
This is Scotland at the time the temperature dropped.
We, on the other hand, are colonised by wankers.
The trouble with Scotland is that it's full of Scots.
The first one's, I think, from that disaster movie, the 2012, but they talk about the weather getting worse in Scotland. Well, the weather's always getting worse in Scotland. I have a lot of fun putting those clips together. It takes a while, but they can be quite good fun. Yeah, I do love Harvest. I mean, it's hard to separate the artist from the music, but Neil, I mean, if you see Neil in full flow doing Like a Hurricane with Crazy Horse, it's something to behold. So, anyway, perhaps all this will blow over. So, the other thing that's going on is obviously the honkening, which forgive me for a second. There you go. You get the full egg. It's getting a bit warm in here. So the honkening in Canada, and again, I don't want to linger for too long on that, but there is a couple of amusing things may have come out of it, which so I'm going to try sharing a little article with you from my beloved Brave Dad. There we go. From my beloved Babylon Bee. So let's see if you can see this first of all. Hope this is showing. So this is about Trudeau orders all geese rounded up and shot for honking in solidarity with truckers. And I love the image. They've got the little blindfolds on. There's the Mounties. They're pointing in the wrong direction, of course. So, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau signed an executive order on Friday authorising the Canadian Mounted Police to have all geese rounded up and shot for honking in solidarity with truckers. The Freedom Convoy of Truckers has been a thorn in the tyrannical Canadian government's side since January 29th. But Trudeau and his cabinet are confident that annihilating avian support will demoralise the truckers and send them packing. Mounties began chasing geese on Saturday, following them around with burlap sacks and wacky oversized nets. The funny thing is, there's actually something quite Canadian about that. Captured geese are being blindfolded, lined up and shot, sometimes in mid-honk. We now view the Canadian goose as an enemy of the state, said Trudeau in a statement over Zoom. If you see something, say something. We must end this fascist honking once and for all. Trudeau, visibly shaken by honking geese, claims the attack on his tyranny has exacerbated his fake COVID diagnosis. I may never be able to meet with the truckers face to face, and it's all because of those hateful geese, not because I'm afraid, he said. Minister of Health Jean-Yves Duclos echoed his dear leader's sentiments when he spoke with the press on Monday morning. Trucks honk, fascists honk, geese honk, he said. Get it? According to sources, Trudeau is expected to stay in hiding until the geese migrate north in the spring. I'm not going to play it. I'd love to play this video. I'm not going to, but that's a real picture of Trudeau on the right there. And he somehow got away with that. But that's funny. They're rounding up the geese. That's freaking hilarious. I absolutely love it. Freebird. Well, that would work, Courtney. Yes, Freebird would be the anthem of PETA here. PETA, trying to free these birds. I know you're talking about Skinner and Neil Young, but anyway, I just thought that was hilarious. But the other thing is that they've actually apparently opened a restaurant in Ottawa now for the truckers. It's the I found a picture of it here. The Canadian Honker restaurant. Which I will show you in just 1 second. See, doing this in one screen, it's oh, there we go. So yes, in honor of and in tribute to the truckers, a new chain of restaurants opened in Canada, the Honker restaurant. And this is clearly this is a real restaurant. I think I saw it was maybe in Cleveland or something, but the Canadian Honker. I like it. Honker. Oh, right. Anyway. Back to reality. There we go. We should probably close a couple of these windows, otherwise I'll start to get... I did want to say one more thing, because I was particularly... Actually, that would be a great new chain of restaurants instead of Hooters, Honkers. Honkers would be pretty good. A restaurant called Honkers. I did want to point out that my our very dear friend Canadian Spider-Man did make a fantastic riposte video to Trudeau, basically calling everyone racists and misogynists and whatever just because they dare to oppose him or even disagree with him, in fact. So, yeah, Canadian Hooters would be honkers. So I'm not going to play it right now because I'd prefer you to go to Canadian Spider-Man's channel and subscribe to him, my very good friend. Subscribe to him and watch this video and look at that beautiful background. That's Okanagan area. And he lays this out really nicely, his riposte. And again, he refuses to accept the premise, which was that if you're anything to do with this, you're racist, misogynist, homophobic, transphobic, blah, 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 which was just ludicrous. It has nothing to do with the argument around mandates, which is what it's all about. So it was a terrible, terrible statement for a Prime Minister of a supposedly free Western country to make. But anyway, Canadian Spider-Man deals with it very well in this, so please go check out his channel and take a look at that video. Alrighty. End of serious bit. Full stop. The honking, the honklers. Honkers. That would be a great Canadian restaurant, wouldn't it? Honkers. It's not like enough geese. You can't walk down the street without getting attacked by the buggers where I live, but there's thousands of them. So let's see how you guys are getting on. So Courtney's having a problem with Canadian Spider-Man. Yeah, well, yeah, this subbing this it happens to me too in certain channels, and I know I've dropped a couple of subs on my own channel, which I don't know whether that's people saying, "God, I've had enough of this guy," or whether it's they've dropped away. But yeah, check out Canadian Spider-Man. The lovely Sherry is here too. Hello, the lovely Sherry. So good of you all to join me. It's about 10:40 p.m. here in Murrayshire, in the north of Scotland. So you guys are. So it was perfect, good timing for continuing to have my 2 p.m. Pacific slot. So I think next week I'll be also doing it from Scotland, and then the week after back to Canada. And I know that Courtney and Lindsay and I have talked about that first show then back in Canada. We'll do something about music, so we'll get that set up. So a couple of funny things or articles I wanted to just talk about a little bit with you guys. First we'll play some more clips.
Scotland, 1200 years! And
where am I taking groundskeeper really?
Like that plaid and me killed.
I don't even understand what he says, mate. I don't understand what he says in that last one. What is he talking about? I think it's Hank Azaria does that voice. I'm going to play that again. I like the first bit so much.
Scotland, 1200 years! And
where am I taking groundskeeper really?
Like that plaid and me killed.
I was looking for the clip where they're closing in on him in the corner and he's got the kilt on, but I couldn't find that one. So I do like that one. Yeah, that's. I don't know, I think I've played all the Scottish ones now. What a shame. So there was a little article. This is not exactly startling stuff, but I was amused that when I was looking up the news when I got here to the UK, that one of our favourite people happened to pop up, and that would be Mr. Alec Baldwin, who's apparently in the UK right now. Now, I would have thought that with the tragic events that happened in the Rust set, that he may well have not been encouraged by the authorities to travel, but I guess he's good to go. I don't know what it is about this picture. It makes it look like he's got a bleeding nose. But anyway, he lands in the UK to make a movie, and his car was stolen. So his run of luck continues. But I was a little bit interested here that it said that Alec Baldwin had his car stolen after landing in the UK to film his first movie since his shooting horror. Well, I would say it was a bit more horrific for the people that were at the other end of the weapon, but you know, not saying it didn't leave an impact on him, but yeah, he's making a plane crash thriller in 97 minutes. So I guess Rust is on the back burner right now. But was shocked when his chauffeur's car was nicked from outside the airport. Is this man always photographing himself, though? Like, literally always taking selfies of himself? So he's somewhere in Hampshire. I hope he wasn't in the same plane as me. No, I guess it probably wouldn't be. But yeah, that's yeah, nothing startling about that. It's a bit weird that he was allowed to come out of the country. Okay, this is of course from the Scottish Sun, your trusted news source. Now, the Scottish Sun may not be trusted for news, but it always does have a lot of semi-naked women on it. So you know. But who am I to watch such things? But yeah, good old Alec Baldwin is in the UK at the same time as me. Coincidence? You be the judge. So, so the number of points that I would give Alec Baldwin for his recent performances?
0.0.
How are you all getting on out there? You gives a break, you chookters. So, the gang's all here. Yes, that's what narcissistic people do. They take a lot of photographs, and some of them even do YouTube streams, I guess. Am I a narcissist? Am I the bad guy? I don't know. Yep. I guess he is an enormous, throbbing narcissist, as most actors probably are. So, yeah, that was one tiny little thing I wanted to mention. But I did have something more edifying about about Scotland, which did interests me, and it's funny because I watched a video on this very subject recently. So let me just tee this one up on the screen sharing. Actually, before I do anything else, forgive me, I should have had my overlay on. Underlay, overlay, there we go. Isn't that much better? So in Scotland, there is a town, very old historic town, aren't they all? Called Linlithgow. And this is in the West Lothian area. I used to live quite near it, actually. And it has a palace, Linlithgow Palace, which Mary, Queen of Scots, amongst others, lived in. It's quite a beautiful old town. Really, really nice. But there's a pub there. That there's been a furore over for a number of years about the name of it, and indeed it's hoped the what would the word be? The algorithm. Sorry, again, senior moment. Let's hope the algorithms of YouTube don't misinterpret this discussion. The pub is called the Black Bitch Pub, and the company that own it, Green King, have decided to rename this pub, and it's been that name for 350 years. And there's a very good reason that it is that name. And I actually watched a video. If you want to look for any more background on this, there's a guy who his YouTube channel is called Scotland History Tours, and I'll just show you that channel in a little while. And he did a video that I watched a few weeks ago about that. I didn't know about the decision to rename the pub, but I knew about this Black Bitch thing because it's a bit of history. So furious locals protest Green King's insulting decision to rename the Black Bitch pub for modern reasons, of course. So it's being renamed the Willow Tree. Green King is changing it over fears the name could be perceived as racist. Well, I guess you can kind of understand. Oh, thanks Eric K for wrenching, doing some wrenching work there. Appreciate it, and appreciate you for being here. Yeah, I could see why they could perceive it if you didn't know about the history of the name and why it's called that. So, and there's going to be a protest to Linlithgow Cross in the town to protest this. Actually, there's a picture of it here. This is what the pub looks like, and I have actually been in this pub many years ago. Very old pub. Like, there's just so many of these. 350. There's nothing quite like it going to a 350-year-old pub, you know. I remember going to one in Cornwall years ago where the pub itself had been there since before Napoleonic times, and it was used to press gang people, and it was exactly the same layout, and much of the same furniture had been there for a long time, and there was no pumps in this, beer pumps in this. It was all hand tapped kegs in this bar, but that's another story. So anyway, this is the Black Bitch. Outraged residents are planning to hold a protest this weekend against the renaming of the Black Bitch pub by a major brewery. The 350-year-old Boozer in Linlithgow, West Lothian, is being renamed by Green King over fears the pub's name may be perceived to be racist. The pub, which dates back to the 17th century, as does the plumbing, will be renamed the Willow Tree following a public consultation by the brewer in a long-running wrangle. Hey Kip, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, back in the UK, up in the frozen north of Scotland. But yeah, good to see you joining, mate. Thanks for coming in. Good to see you, mate. So its new name, the pub's new name, commemorates a tree which was planted in 1832 to commemorate the Reform Bill, which introduced wide-ranging changes to the election laws of Scotland and gave more people the ability to vote. Some people would say that it was a backward step at the time, but you know. Anyway, the Black Bitch name had referenced a local legend of a black female greyhound that features on the town's heraldic crest after it brought food to its starving owner, who was imprisoned on an island in Linlithgow Loch. A statue commemorating the local legend still stands to this day in the centre of the historic Scottish town, while its coat of arms features the black dog chained to an oak tree. So it's the black bitch is a black dog, a black female dog. That's why it got the name. Now, the story is that this island in Linlithgow Loch, next to the town, was where they used to put criminals who had been found guilty of various crimes, and basically they put them on this island to starve to death. That was their sentence that was passed on them. And they put this particular guy out there, and they noticed after a few weeks that he didn't seem to be getting any thinner, and he wasn't starving. And it turns out his dog, the aforementioned black bitch, was swimming over to him every night, carrying food to him that his friends were sending. So the dog was keeping him alive. And because the authorities just said, well, this guy's not getting any thinner, you know. So that's it's quite the story. So anyway, it became a real local legend, and the as I say, the actually, there we go. I couldn't see my picture there. That's because Gomer's hiding me. Hang on, hide current comment. There we go. That's better. I'm back. So anyway, yeah. So like 350-year-old thing. I won't spoil the end of the story because there is a YouTube video you can watch on it. So there was a lot of anger about this. People were trying to buy the pub from Green King, the big company that owns it. A lot of local politicians, said, let's save this. It's not anything to do with slavery. And in fact, as campaigners branded the move an insult and a vendetta, claiming the town's heritage was being defamed, and pointing out that the founder of Green King, the company, owned sugar plantations in the West Indies and profited from slavery. So there's a corporate hypocrisy at its peak. I mean, I could see why people would think it was racist, but as soon as you know the story, it's nothing to do with it. It appears the title was not welcoming and inclusive. The fact is that nobody even mentioned this, of course, until the company themselves decided it was a problem. So, and there's the statue you can see of the greyhound tied up to an oak tree. So it's great. It's a great old story, And then Scotland and the UK is full of stuff like that. And it seems a shame that it's a little bit of history that's about to be lost, but. Yeah, Benjamin Green that owns Green King was a slave owner, and a fanatical opponent of the Reform Bill. So they're putting naming it after a tree to do with the Reform Bill that the company that owns it hated too. So this company continues to pretend that they have some sort of mandate to proclaim that the historic name of the Black Bitch is racist and offensive, when nearly 12,000 people have signed a petition telling them they were wrong. And even West Lothian Council has told them. But so again, it's just you can't actually move in Scotland and the UK without tripping over history like this. And I find this one, it's a shame because, as you can see, the company and the guy that founded that company are not exactly clean hands. But there you go. I guess the locals will always know it as the Black Bitch, but great little story, I think. And it's a place I've actually been in, and a town I've spent a lot of time in because I used to live near it. So very beautiful town. The palace is absolutely beautiful. Poor Mary, Queen of Scots, hung out there a lot. So before Elizabeth I did the dirty on her, because Mary, Queen of Scots was the rightful heir to the throne of the UK, but that's a different story. So I will stop that one, and I just wanted to show you, if you want to find out a little bit more about that, and a really good site that does a lot of Scottish history stuff, excuse me, I will share a little, and I don't know this particular gentleman, I just watched a few of his videos and they're very good. It's a guy called Scottish History Tours. I believe the gentleman is Bruce Fummy, who's also a stand-up comedian. As I say, don't know the gentleman, but he has 99k subscribers, pretty close to the 100. He does some really, really great informative stuff about Scottish history, including this one here, which I'm circling now, called The Black Bitch, which I watched about a month ago. And now up comes this story. So, but yeah, he's got some really interesting stuff in here. So if you're ever at all interested in Scottish history, just check this gentleman out. That is Scotland History Tours. Right, I'm going to attempt, without the aid of a safety net, to post that link in there. I suspect the gentleman will never know me, but anyway, he's got a great channel. So, yeah, so that was a wee bit of history for you there. I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, as you say, I say you can't move without falling over it. Now, the town I'm in now, Elgin in Morayshire, there is a ruined cathedral here, and they're always ruined. They're forever ruined. Which is actually was nicknamed the Lantern of the North. Sentient Dildo, thank God you're here. And it's a cathedral that dates back to the Middle Ages, around about 12th, 11th, 12th, 13th century, and it was at the point that it was not ruined before Edward I decided to rip the shit out of it, as he did to the castle in Elgin on one of his grand tours of Scotland, killing everybody. In fact, that reminds me, while we talk about Longshanks, can't talk about Longshanks without
Scotland.
For Scotland. Sons of Scotland!
Welcome to Scotland.
I'm pretty sure I had the Scotland My Land clip somewhere as well, but I don't know what I did with it. Clearly didn't put it in here properly. It's funny, I had that clip somewhere. Scotland My Land. But anyway, yeah, Longshanks ripped the shit out of this cathedral, Elgin Cathedral, the Lantern of the North it was called. It was the largest cathedral in Northern Europe, north of London or something. It was just, and this is not exactly, in those days, this would have taken you to come in the Middle Ages to travel up to here in the north of Scotland from even Edinburgh would have taken you a couple of weeks, on horseback. It's not near. It's not exactly the frozen Scandinavian north, but it's pretty far north. So for an area that was supposedly remote, it had this enormous, beautiful cathedral, which unfortunately got ruined. The ruins are still here, and you can see them. But again, it's just can't move here without tripping over history. So it's funny. What did I do with that? I spent ages today editing these clips together, and I had the whole Scotland, my land.
This is Scotland at the time the temperature dropped.
We, on the other hand, are colonised by wankers.
The trouble with Scotland is that it's full of Scots.
That's the one. I did have that one. Yeah, Patrick McGowan, what a man. The Prisoner. Great actor. Sadly missed. And God, he chewed the scenery in that one. That was something. Well, that was a thing to behold. So, yeah. Anyway. Longshanks was a bastard. Well, he was. So, I mean, you did see. Hey, LDG, how are you, buddy? Thanks for dropping by. Yeah, Longshanks was an interesting guy. Now, from his perspective, if you read the real history, he saw himself as the rightful ruler of all of these territories the Normans had conquered. He said legally he believed he had those rights on his side. And indeed, all the barons that stretched across the British Isles and all areas of it, including Scotland, were all Norman knights, generally speaking, although by this time some of them had, like Robert the Bruce's father, had married Scottish nobles and had started to bring Celtic or native bloodlines into their families. So, and Robert the Bruce himself could speak, Norman, French, Latin, and English, or the equivalent of English then, Scots, Celtic Scots. He could speak a lot of these languages. And I think what Longshanks' issue was that he just, like the medieval rulers of the time, he was brutal. His most infamous act was the sacking of the port of Berwick. So Berwick at the time, and this is like, we're talking the 1200s, was the largest port in Northern Europe. Largest and most important. More important than London, more important than any of the Dutch or Belgian or French coastal ports. Not necessarily larger than the Mediterranean ones, but it was the most important port in Northern Europe. Like the equivalent of billions of pounds of trade went through it every year. Scottish town on the southeast coast of Scotland, population at the time even of quite a large population, of possibly anything up to 40,000 people. An enormously successful port because it was positioning in the North Sea. So, excuse me a second. Sorry about that. So, in order to teach the recalcitrant Scots a lesson who were forever rebelling, this was, he decided to sack the town of the port of Berwick, which meant killing every man, woman, and child in it and burning it to the ground, other than a few buildings, thereby destroying its status as the biggest port in Northern Europe forever, and absolutely crippling it and crippling the Scottish economy once again. So it was that kind of tactic that there was no trying to win the people over with anything. It was all about fear and suppression. Norman knights, I mean, descended from the Vikings, Rollo the Viking. Normans were ruthless knights, so he didn't exactly engender a lot of love, But medieval history was pretty much like that. And I find later on I might talk a little bit more about it because I've been reading some philosophy, well, history of philosophy more than philosophy itself. So, and the medieval period was relatively bleak for the advancement of ideas, but my God, the guy knew how to pull down a cathedral or a castle. That's for sure. Cosmic Squirrel, my friend, good to see you. So I did want to cover a little bit of pop culture, pop music, pop music. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that record for years, so I'll have to add that to the list of things to play on my radio station. I get back round to doing that again. Yeah, so there is a little bit of stuff I was quite interested in. If you'll indulge me, people, and bear with me. I hope you're all still. Hey, Darius, brother, you're welcome to join me on here. And indeed, if I have a way of getting the link to anybody else who wants to jump in, just say hello. I know that that would probably mean just about everybody that's watching joins on the panel, but so be it, You're all such lovely people. I love you all. Yeah, you're all lovely. Oh, Darius, don't go. You only just got here. Who's leaving? Are you leaving, Courtney? Oh, you got to get going. Oh, sorry to see you go, lass. Oh, no, well, thanks for coming in, though. And as I say, you and I are going to do this music thing in a couple of weeks, so good to see you, though. Thanks for joining in. And we'll sometime see it. And what I want to do with that is I don't just want to recite a list of bands that we love. I really want to talk about just why we like some of the things we like, you know, and from the different eras, because I think we'll have a nice mix of eras we can cover, especially if Lindsay can join us. So Robin McNamara, well, it could happen. More chance of that than Robin Thicke, let's put it that way. Just checking and see who else might be here. And yeah, LDG, I mean, you're welcome to jump in too. I can if anybody wants to join, I can probably slip the link into Discord to you. But yeah, just let me know. So I was going to talk a little bit about something I saw in the Bounding into Comics today, because it interests me, because it's about science fiction and it's about movies. So let me just once again crank up the old share and share alike. It's this just another red shirt, my friend. It is so good to see you. Thank you for joining. Right. Hopefully that's showing. Maybe a little bit hard to see. Make it a bit bigger. So, Moonfall director Roland Emmerich claims that Marvel, DC Comics, and Star Wars are ruining the movie industry. So I do find this a very interesting proposition. Let me just hide the current comment and go back here. Like that. So, now Roland Emmerich, I should point out by saying, and here is a picture of him with Patrick Wilson, who is an excellent actor. I really like Patrick Wilson. He's in a lot of good stuff. Roland Emmerich maybe said that some people would say pot kettle black, because the man tends to make a certain template of large budget spectacle disaster movies, which some people would say, well, maybe they're, you know, maybe they've contributed to ruining the movie industry. What's so great about them, you know? I happen to love Independence Day. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and that's an Emmerich directed and written thing. I certainly liked a lot of the Stargate stuff that he was inspired by him doing the movie, and I do like the movie. And there is going to be a sequel, of course. White House Down was okay, but there's a lot of other stuff that it's, you know, Patriot, it's okay. Universal Soldier wasn't bad, actually. But things like The Day After Tomorrow, 10,000 BC, 2012, I think you could say there's a template of things that are not exactly high art. That so who's he to point the finger? However, I think he does have a point. So Moonfall director Roland Emmerich recently claimed that Marvel, DC Comics, and Star Wars are ruining the movie industry, and he's certainly not the first to say that recently. Emmerich made the comments in an interview with Den of Geek promoting his upcoming disaster film Moonfall. Now, I'm a little bit hopeful about Moonfall because I do like a big sci-fi epic, especially when planets get destroyed. So you never know. Could be quite good. I do like Patrick Wilson, so quite a good lead. He detailed that the disaster genre is changing because naturally Marvel and DC Comics and Star Wars are pretty much taken over. Yeah. Okay, it's ruining our industry a little bit because nobody does anything original anymore, he added. Well, again, people could kind of point at him as being part of that issue. Okay, but it doesn't invalidate what he's saying, and I think what he's saying is right, because we've seen with Marvel recently, certainly since Infinity War, it's cookie cutter template, and he's not mentioning the other thing that's ruining it here, of course, which is the woke thing. It's not just crap movies; it's crap woke movies that are ruining the industry. And they are certainly, it's true, Marvel are certainly churning those out now with a stamped template. Not only does he believe superhero films in Star Wars, and by Star Wars I think he must mean the sequels, he doesn't say that, and Star Wars are ruining the movie industry, but he also expressed his own disinterest in them. Discussing his childhood in Germany, he explained that there were comics and Tintin, and actually Tintin was quite popular in Britain too, a French comic, but they were very childish and there were no superheroes. Yeah, it might be different in Germany, because in Britain we did have Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. They were well known and every kid knew them. So that's why at the very beginning superheroes didn't work in Germany. They needed 10 or 15 years of movies to get to the same level as the rest of the world. But I have never found any interest in that kind of movie, he added. Instead of doing big IP movies, Emmerich wants to see Hollywood embrace more original ideas. You should make bold new movies, he says. Well, would you say 2012 had been a bold new movie? I don't know. Emmerich then points to Christopher Nolan, who directed an entire Batman trilogy, as an example. And I think actually Christopher Nolan is the master of that. He is someone who can make movies about whatever he wants. So I think he's got a point there for sure. And Nolan's certainly been one of my mainstays in the last 20 years and has made some fantastic movies, even within the bounds of genre. And certainly for me, being a huge sci-fi fan, Inception is in my top 5 of all time. Not everybody's cup of tea, I know. And Interstellar, I actually loved it as well. I mean, a lot of people weren't so keen, but I loved it. And I think Nolan at least tries to do stuff, and he tries to do original stuff. I have it a little bit harder, but I still have a big enough name, especially when it's a disaster movie or has some sort of disaster theme. And I certainly have seen Emmerich's name as a producer on many things. And it does mention in a related article that Scorsese, and I've read it, Scorsese criticised superhero movies quite radically. So there's some pushback there on these tentpole superhero movies that have taken over Hollywood now. I think it's certainly a discussion that needs to be had. Whether making big budget disaster movies again, especially climate related ones, as Emmerich tried to do the woke stuff with those, is the right idea. I don't know, but certainly that a lot of the more interesting movies to come out last year, Boss Level, Nobody, Old Henry, they were much more original ideas with modest budgets and what you would call your medium level stuff. And I think that's hey Pablo, how are you, my friend? It's so good to see you. Thanks for joining, buddy. Thanks for coming along and listening to my inane ramblings. So yes, Scorsese really, and I don't intend to necessarily read all of this, certainly had a good go at it too. He says, I don't see them, I tried, but that's not cinema. That was in 2019 when he said, Scorsese's view, they're not cinema. I think there's some cases to be made, some of them are. I think he's going too far. I mean, I would look at a movie like Blade, albeit that's an earlier generation of Marvel. I would look at Winter Soldier. I would even look at Guardians of the Galaxy, first one, and say, yeah, and first Deadpool, and say, yeah, these are cinema. These are good. They're within the comic genre, but they've got a lot of good shit in them and good stuff to good stuff to say and done in a certain way and directed with a lot of aplomb. So I think now they're cookie cutter trash, many of them that are being churned out by Marvel. Who knows what DC are doing, you know. I actually like that picture. Patrick Wilson, Halle Berry. For all Halle Berry, I like Halle Berry. I mean, I certainly enjoyed her John Wick appearance, and I'm always happy to see her in something. I think she could be good in this. So yeah, Scorsese said, honestly, the closest I can think of them, as well as made as they are, with actors doing the best they can under the circumstances, is theme parks, which is interesting, given Disney's involvement. It isn't the cinema of human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological experiences to another human being, Scorsese elaborated. He forgot to elaborate at the end, and shooting them in the face, which happens in a lot of his movies, gangster movies. But no, I mean, I get what he's saying. And there's a picture of contemporary LA. Oh, it's actually from the movie Moonfall. I thought it was just LA as it is now, you know, fires, looting, and destruction. Look just like LA today. So, in fact, the films themselves don't interest me as a matter of personal taste and temperament. I think the other bit I really just wanted to drop down past. So the Scorsese stuff is all there to be read on. But also this is interesting in that Denis Villeneuve, who's again another director I trust pretty much these days, he's chimes in too. Claims that Star Wars lost its seriousness and elegance after The Empire Strikes Back. I noticed that they're all very careful not to directly criticize the sequels, but although Villeneuve also criticized the current direction of Star Wars, saying it's a very delicate thing to talk about Star Wars because everything will be dissected. And I will say that I was also a big Star Wars fan. The first two Star Wars films and the one that became A New Hope later on. And I have to say, I agree with whoever it was the other day I was listening to in the stream said, it wasn't A New Hope when I saw it, it was just Star Wars. Well, it was the same for me. It only became A New Hope later. New Hope and then The Empire Strikes Back were by far movies that had a massive influence on me when I was young. They are probably one of the reasons I'm a filmmaker now. There's a link, of course. I discovered Dune after having seen the first Star Wars and probably after seeing Empire. So this is neat because Villeneuve, inspired by those, has now gone out to do things like Dune, which for me was a massive achievement, and I can't wait to see the follow-ups, the next two. And he is a director that I feel at least tries to make serious sci-fi, so it's good for me. So there is a debate there. There is some major figures in Hollywood, perhaps, albeit they're not touching on the wokeness and some of the other reasons for the failure of Hollywood. They're at least questioning some of the content that's coming out, which is good. I like this quote from Villeneuve: "Science fiction is serious stuff for me. It's something that I love when I consider life. It considers life and existence seriously. That's why I have so much reverence for Blade Runner and 2001: Space Odyssey. When people are taking sci-fi seriously, it's so powerful. And it's great for me to hear a director say that, because I'm principally not necessarily a comic guy or superhero guy myself. I'm a sci-fi guy. So, some interesting stuff, and I skipped a few bits and pieces of it, but I felt it was worth commenting on. It's a debate I hope to see more of, and more who I would call, these are like Villeneuve, Scorsese, Nolan. These are heavyweight directors that I like, and I'd like to see them certainly like to see them talk more about content and quality. And one of the other things I noticed, I think it might have been Villeneuve that said it, was there's no outlet now, or it's very hard for an outlet for medium-sized movies to, So the art house is always going to be the art house. There'll always be an outlet for those. The big budget blockbusters will still dominate the cineplexes. It's the smaller movies that are in the middle, like the Nobodies, that need and many of those are the ones with the original ideas and the original thinking. They are the ones that need to get promoted, especially if they're not full of woke stuff. So I don't know what you guys think, but yeah, Pablo, good to see you, buddy. Yes, thanks for swinging by. You and I will have to stream together very, very soon, my friend. Very, very soon. So yes, he's not wrong, and I think Dildo, you're right, and he does have a point. So yeah, so that was got a little bit heavyweight there. Make it sound like I know what I'm talking about, and I don't. But I do like hearing people who I respect, and there's not many of those left in the movie business, talking about stuff. So as I say, I've been reading a little bit of philosophy recently. Normally, most of my philosophy would be consumed in the pages of books, like science fiction books or other things, and woven into the story of it rather than the actual philosophers themselves. Because, I'm just an ordinary guy. Love to read, but I've never been, I'm aware of the concepts, but I've never been hugely into the history of it. But I'm reading a sort of primer on the history of philosophy today and at this time. And I was struck particularly by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who not only was a great philosopher but played bass for the Stranglers, when he said, "Man is born free and he is everywhere in chains." I thought, what a great quote. I love that. So what I'm going to do is because this one-man band is starting to obviously tire, I think we need some fresh blood here on this. So I'm going to bring in a guest, a fellow streamer.
That's popcorn.
Buttered popcorn.
Popcorn chicken, come on!
Yes, it is the one, the only, philosopher himself, the founder of the Dead Boob Society, Darius Munchausen.
Hey, hail, my friend. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, buddy. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm glad to see you arrive safely and contently, I hope.
As content as I can be. Yes, I'm doing well.
Are you with family?
I am. I'm visiting my daughter and grandchildren, although obviously in time. But yes, I'm here to visit family, and I'm certainly not here for the weather or the cuisine.
Yeah, what is it frozen?
Well, today wasn't so bad, but it's either been torrential rain, howling gales, snow, or all three at the same time. So, it's Scotland.
So just a typical day in the UK.
Yeah, you wait 20 minutes, the weather will change, but usually not for the better. So, so it's mainly visiting family, and but it's very good to have you on, my friend, because I know you're a man of a philosophical bent.
Oh, well, it's very kind of you, and I do like my sci-fi movies and my pew pew boom boom movies.
Indeed. Your boom boom movies.
Yeah, well, I'm not talking about shitty movies, but movies where stuff blows up.
All right, titty movies, shitty movies. Sorry. Yes. So
all of the above.
How is your philosophy knowledge?
Well, I guess that depends on the philosophy. How far back are we going?
Where are you on the eternal verities, for instance?
I don't think I'm familiar with eternal verities, meaning eternal truths.
Well, that could be part of it, yes. And indeed, what is truth? The very nature of reality. Is it like
depends very much on our own point of view.
Yeah. So you're in that school, I would say. That's so. What about René Descartes, who was a drunken fart? I drink, therefore I am. René Descartes was famously sure. That's used to be my knowledge of it. It was from the Monty Python philosopher song. But he was famously sure that he had a mind.
Ergo sum.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Cognito ergo sum. Yes. Cognito ergo some beer. He was famously sure he had a mind, but not so sure he had a body. On the other hand, I would say I'm sure I have a body. I just don't know whose it is. And how about you? Do you have a mind or a body?
I am just a mind with no body. I exist in the viewer's imagination.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You're just an idea.
Yeah, and I like it that way.
Yeah, the question for me then would be: are you an idea who is a natural force that has always existed, or have you really just invented yourself as an idea?
If I am the former, then I wouldn't know. But if I'm the latter, then I could definitely tell you.
You see, you didn't expect such a deep conversation when you ventured on here, did you?
Well, not on the air, no. But if we were off the air, yeah, of course.
Oh well, we'll just drop off then. No, you did drop for a sec, but don't worry about it, mate. You're okay. So the other thing is, I've been reading this book is about Hegel or Hegel.
Okay.
There's the question: is it Hegel or Hegel?
Is that the Hegelian dialectic?
That's the one. Or is it Catherine Hegel that used to be on CSI? It's one or the other.
Yeah, she was cute.
She was. She had some eternal verities, that's for sure. So I'm a big fan of him because he started from the concept that there was nothing. And I can totally get behind that concept. In fact, there was no point in reading any further than that because he nailed it first time out. Like, this is over. We're done.
Yep, there is nothing. Good night, everybody.
There is nothing. That's right. There's nothing. My work here is done.
Right. Whereas Nietzsche said it was all an eternal recurrence. So don't worry about this time. I'll catch you on the next one.
That's right. Get you on the flip side. See, they've always got a weaselly way out of it, don't they? These philosophers. Weasels. Oh, Carol's Cookies is here.
Hey,
hello, Carol.
Hey, Carol's Cookies.
And Cam. Oh, and Sentient Dildo is right. Life is dark and full of terror. Philosopher Dildo 1200 BC. That's right. and it's even worse if you're like me last week in Austin when your battery pack runs out and you're stranded, Dildo.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was an interesting experiment. But yeah, Cam's here. Nice to see you. Nice to see Carol's Cookies. We've reached nothingness, nirvana. Here we go. Well, it does smell like that, doesn't it? That teen spirit. Yeah, I was actually even going to venture to try some kind of philosophy quiz. So that could be a complete disaster, or indeed maybe it doesn't really matter because perhaps none of you exist.
Raw figments of your imagination?
That's right. So it wouldn't really matter then, would
it? You know, there are people who tell me they're figments of my imagination, and I can't disprove that.
Well, you can't. You cannot disprove that. I mean, so René Descartes says, "I think, therefore I am," but there are other philosophers who say, "Well, not really, because how do you know you're thinking? And what drives that thinking? Where did that thinking come from? Is the brain physical? Is the mind a physical thing, or is it completely separate from the brain?" So, and therefore,
right? Are you a Boltzmann brain?
That's right. Do you even have free will? Free willy?
Yeah, free will is not a hot concept right now.
No, it certainly isn't. But so let's try some and we'll see if the chat they can chime in on these. I have some feeble questions on philosophy, and some of these are so I suspect you're going to find them very obvious. I got to share this screen somehow though. Window, no, break.
Oh, and hail Gomer.
Oh yeah, Gomer's here. I prefer the Buddhist pizza school of philosophy. Make me one with everything. So, all philosophy trivia question 1. Okay, I'm going to try sharing this. So we'll start with an easy one. Let me get rid of this. So, who wrote Das Kapital and the Communist Manifesto? I suspect.
You want me to answer? Is this for the chat?
Oh, it's just for everybody. All right, anybody. You can answer if you want.
I mean, I know this one. Yes. His name is a 4-letter word twice.
Yes. Bill Watt. No, Karl Marx, indeed. Now, when I see Karl Marx's hair like that, I think, what an epic barber he must have had. And what is that thing under his nose?
He's got Uncle Jesse's moose. He puts it on the sides.
That's right. So, and when I see him like that, it often makes me think of I'm going to share another screen here. I'm sorry, I'm only on my laptop, so I can only do one of these at a time. He makes me kind of think of this guy when I see his hair like that. So he's equally vile. Actually, this lizard's more beautiful than Marx, and probably makes more. It's probably done less damage to the human race, but
looks like the spitter from Jurassic Park.
It is, isn't it? It's easy to see where they come from. So let's go back
now, did you draw those little white areas on either side?
I didn't, but I wish I had. No, this is purely a photograph. So let me try sharing. No, but I'm going to get rid of that now. We're back. So let the philosophy.
T-Bud says all wrong. It was AOC.
It was AOC. That's right. AOC is the thing under the nose. That's what she is. She's the thing under the nose. The lizard was cool. Mark's not so cool. Back to the questions. Hang on. Share screen. It's painfully slow with only one screen to work with. So my apologies. So we'll go for Karl Marx, see what happens. Oh, we got that one right. Scroll to the next question. By what name are the collected sayings of Confucius and his followers known? Well, answer B, the anal acts, doesn't sound very enticing.
No.
I don't think the anal acts is possibly not what we're looking for. I'm going to suggest that these are the Bhagavad Gita.
Well, the Bhagavad Gita is where was it Shiva or Krishna said, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The Zen way. Let me think.
I think the Zen way is where sentient dildo would like to be in the Zen way.
I think the Zen way is Lao Tzu, and of course the Quran is Muhammad. So I would guess the Analects
So you think it's the Analects? Okay, well,
I think
that's
so.
also where dildo has ended up with the Analects quite a few times, I believe.
He's a smart dildo.
You are correct.
All right.
Well played, sir. I did not know that. Thanks for playing at home.
Well, it's process of elimination.
Indeed. So this one I think somebody touched on it in the chat already. It may have been Dildo or Cam. Who described life as solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short? Should have said British and short. That would have been. I just read this one and I've forgotten it already. That's how clever I am. But I have it. I'm going to have a guess.
See. Well, I have Leviathan by Hobbes, where he describes, life without civilization as bellum omnium contra omnes, right? The war of all against all.
Yeah.
It seems kind of dark enough to fit.
It is. It's not the middle two. I know that much.
Right, Adam Smith with the invisible hand. And I admit I'm not familiar with Alfred North Whitehead.
No, I think he owned a brewery in Yorkshire. So I'm gonna. Nobody in the chat's going for it, so I'm gonna go for Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh, I love that growing up.
Yeah, me too. Thomas Hobbes it was. So he had a very. He was an optimist. This is from the optimist school.
Yeah, and he had a funny sense of spelling.
He did. Hobbes was fond of his dram. Right. This is an easy one coming up. What philosophical blade encourages one to prefer simple explanations when they fit the evidence? Well, it's Wesley
that's an easy
Snipes,
one.
Isn't it? It's Wesley Snipes.
It's simple. Vampires, kill them all.
That's right. Kill them all. I like the answers though. Darwin's dagger, Neil's knife.
The sword of Aristophanes.
I think, with apologies to the chat, we're going to go for Occam's razor. Oh, now we're getting into a good one. This man's got an excellent haircut. What philosopher?
It's funny. I saw someone in a chat mention Occam's razor a couple days ago, but they spelled it like AKUM. But I knew what they meant.
Yeah, they got it spelling wrong. So, what philosopher wrote the famous work On Liberty? Well, if that's the picture of him, it's not David Hume. I don't think.
No, Hume was the guy who said that, all of our, intellectualism and all of our efforts should serve the passions.
Yes. Scottish philosopher,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's why he was permanently cold. Miserable.
On Liberty. Well, I don't think it was Leibniz.
I don't think it was Leibniz.
Leibniz was the guy who developed calculus, right? At the same time as Newton.
That's right, yeah. He was a big calculus. Reading this book, they have an awful lot of philosophers have had an awful lot of talk about triangles all the time. They had this.
It turned out to be a big deal once you get to calculus.
Well, indeed, they had to they were always trying to picture the perfect triangle, but of course they can't picture the perfect one because they can only picture the one that pops into their mind then. So there's no ideal triangle. Liberty DeVito was his drummer, his D-Bud. So I'm going to say Billy Joel. Liberty DeVito wrote On Liberty.
The only time I've ever stumped Jill on math was when she was talking about about triangles always adding up to 180 degrees. And I said, but not in non-Euclidean space.
That's right, yes. Then you're getting into irrational numbers. I think Cam has it. It's John Stuart Mill. Trouble at Mill. And there was indeed trouble at Mill. It was him. Okay,
Gilda says, ideal triangle is me and two heads.
Touche, sir. Touche.
Agreed.
Right, we're going to go for the next one. What dismal thinker, well that would be me, believed that human populations inevitably outstrip food supplies?
Oh,
Well,
I think I know that one.
Malthus.
Yeah, Kant was too noble, too optimistic.
Yeah.
You know, he always believed in doing the right thing no matter what. And then Kierkegaard was a little odd and not bad, but odd. But yeah, no, I believe it was Malthus, right? And it was from Malthus that was it Jonathan Swift wrote The Modest Proposal. It's sort of a satire of it.
Oh yeah. Just another red shirt. One of crossbeams went out of skew on treadle. What? I didn't expect some kind of Spanish Inquisition. But yeah, every time I see stuff like that, I do think of Yorkshiremen for some reason. Every time I see names of philosophers.
I'm just going to picture them as Jens.
So it's got to be Malthus, Malthusian. Yes, and it was.
Mm-hmm.
My God, we know more about this stuff than we pretend.
I know. Who would have thought? We're just people on the internet.
Okay, we're getting to triangles.
You know what it is? It's you staying away from Twitter.
It is. That's right.
It's kept you sharp.
I read books about philosophy. Well, I read primers. It's like philosophy for dummies. Does that book
like
even
the clip
exist?
notes?
Can a book called Philosophy for Dummies really exist?
Of course. Those cave notes.
How do you know? Cave notes. Now we're onto the triangles. What Greek philosopher known for his triangle-related theorem, this could be tough, had numerically obsessed followers?
Oh, this is an easy one.
He had a lot of barons and counts. Numerically obsessed. For
centuries.
Yeah. Well, he had a school. These guys founded their own schools.
Yeah, but I think even like the Rosicrucians were really into his tradition of his school and his secret society, and probably any other secret society in the same vein.
Indeed, Klaus Schwab. Somebody said Schwab.
Because I think he picked up where like the alchemists of the ancient times left off.
Yeah, Schwab would be the answer to the previous one about
populations.
So before we and the chat has answered this one, Pythagoras, of course. But before we go, the one that fascinated me was that all these Greek schools of philosophy arguing over the ship of Theseus, and whether if you replaced every plank in it over time, if it was the same ship. But then even better was what happens if you keep all the old planks and build a second ship? Is that the ship of Theseus, or is it still the one that you've replaced all the planks on? I just find that fascinating. It's like Only Fools and Horses, British TV show.
But how do you know if you're a clone?
Well, indeed. If the janitor in that show, he says, I've had the same broom for 30 years. He's had the head replaced 20 times and the handle replaced 20 times, but it's the same broom.
Mm-hmm.
See, I love that because is the idea of the broom enough? Or does it have to be the physical reality? Because if you build that second ship, that's the original planks. Now, don't sail it because they're all rotten, but you know. Pythagoras it is. Are we having fun yet, everybody? We're learning and having fun.
I am. This is a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
And I'm loving how many people in the chat are getting it.
I think they're all there's at least 4 of them still there, so you know. Only Mad Dong's an Englishman. Well, that was Leon Russell and I get by a little help from my friends. That guy who was a Yorkshireman as well. You see, Joe Cocker. That's it. Always back.
It always comes back to Yorkshire, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't even at what was it? Remember Constantine was a Yorkshireman technically.
Yes, he was, and I've actually stood on the spot that he was proclaimed emperor.
Oh, nice.
In York.
See, I gotta get out more.
Yeah. It's under the treadle. No, it's under the York Minster. The great thing about York Minster, if you visit it, is you see all the layers. So there's the modern cathedral at the top, then you've got the Anglican, Anglo-Saxon one, then you get the Norman one, and then you got the whatever, and then the Roman one at the bottom, and underneath it's got the original Roman road and the springs.
Oh, that's
that
cool.
They had and everything. Oh, it's the coolest thing ever. And there's an actual spot where Constantine was proclaimed emperor or somebody. I think it was Constantine.
You know, that reminds me of a recent PC game called The Forgotten City, right, where you travel from the modern day back to Roman times, right, in the same city, and you have to basically solve the mystery, and it's like a time loop game. You can reset it every time you screw up, but you go into like this cave, and there's this old Greek man in there with a Greek civilization underneath the Roman one, but then you keep going, and there's like an Egyptian civilization beneath that, and then a Sumerian civilization beneath that, and it's like. I don't want to spoil it, so I don't know where it ends, but I really want to play that now.
Oh, it's a great game. I've played it, yeah. And it pays to think about it deeply when you're playing it, because the aim is to minimize the number of time loops if you want to play it that way, you know. So you have to be very careful about who you talk to and what you pick up or whatever. It is a fun game. It's built off the Skyrim engine as well. It's a Skyrim mod, really.
Right. Yeah, because it was a mod originally.
Yeah, and it's got nothing to do with the actual Skyrim Elder Scrolls stuff itself. So, that's the Forgotten Kingdom. Just in case anybody's
the Forgotten City.
Kingdom. Forgotten City. In case anybody's wondering, it's a PC game. What 17th century philosopher said, "Without God, nothing can be conceived"? I would have thought more like without a uterus, but you know.
Well, it definitely wasn't. It wasn't Machiavelli.
No, it wasn't. I have a feeling. No, 17th century is the 1600s, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's not Kant, I don't think. Then I think
it's
more likely to be Spinoza. You think it might be Kant?
I'm not familiar with Spinoza, but I know that Kant was a very devoutly Christian man.
Oh, that's true. I thought he was more 18th century, but.
Well, you're probably right. Like I said, I'm not familiar with Spinoza.
The book is too far away from me to cheat. Okay, we'll throw it open to the crowd. Come on, anybody. Somebody must know. Without God, nothing can be conceived. Anybody, give us a guess. The Wild Stallions. Nope. Nope. I don't think it's Machiavelli. So Kant, Hobbes, or I didn't think. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll go for Kant then. I think it's probably not him. No, it was just I said Spinoza. You see, you bullied me into changing my answer.
No, I said, you know more about him. Go ahead. I said you were probably right, remember?
Yeah, Benedict.
And you were.
Spinoza. Well, I've just kind of read a little bit about him, and I don't remember that phrase, and he's a little bit overlooked now, although he inspired a lot of other guys.
Overlooked or underlooked?
Underlooked. He's the underlooked philosopher. His bands were not very popular at the time.
Now, Ascension Dilbo told me that the bands make her dance.
Well, that's the way it goes. Right, here we go. What medieval philosopher fell in love with and secretly married his student Heloise? Heloise. That's a great song from the 60s. And then The Damned had a great cover of it. That was Eloise, but it's close. So it wasn't Bacon. It wasn't Kant.
No, they're too late.
I suspect it's Peter Abelard.
Yeah, I don't know when he lived, but even Descartes was like 17th century.
Yeah. Spicoli, I think, is the answer, according to Eric K. Spock and Spicoli. I think it's Abelard. Abelard. See, again, he's from Yorkshire.
There was an episode of Archer where there was a dog named Abelard.
Well, there you go. That's why.
I think it was just a setup for philosophy jokes that most people wouldn't get.
That's right, and I wouldn't have got it until I read this book. See, I'm just now rivulets of thought. Rivulets. Who wrote the critique?
No, go on. Yeah, he would set up a line and he'd be like, "Woof, thanks, Abelard."
That's right. Who wrote the Critique of Pure Reason? Pure green. I have in my hands some pure green. Critique of Pure Reason. Well, again, he doesn't look like Kant, but then I don't know what Kant looked like. He doesn't look like Aristotle. Because Aristotle was a bugger for the bottle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he looks almost more British, doesn't he?
He does. I don't think it's Francis Bacon either.
No, Bacon, he had the goatee, didn't he?
Yeah, and he wrote all of Shakespeare's plays.
Yeah, well, so I've heard. Yes, we'll see. Yeah, and he was an alchemist too. He was a Rosicrucian, I believe.
That's right. He created substances like pure green. Nugget of pure green. This is a Blackadder reference. That's Dildo knows a bit about buggery. Oh, well.
No.
I think we're back to John Stuart Mill, but could be Kant, of course.
Could be. I think he did look kind of like that.
Oh, go on then. Oh, it was Kant.
Yay!
Yay! All right, we're getting close to the end. Everyone will be relieved to know. Oh, this is
I know her.
Yeah, Ayn Rand. What philosophical ism is closely associated with writer Ayn Rand? Well, it isn't jism, that's for sure.
It's not dildoism.
That's a dildoism. That's a severe haircut right there. I have read Atlas Shrugged, of course, and really, and all those books. And much as I appreciate the ideas in them and think they're brilliant, she could have done with an editor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a lot of wasted
cut that
words
down a
in
little bit.
Yeah.
I got it right over here somewhere. There we go. Well, here's the fountainhead anyway.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
so
think
thick.
she would have to be. She would have to be
almost 700 pages.
I know, and it could have done with being half of that. But great ideas, just too much verbiage.
I know they are objectively too long.
Indeed. So I wonder if she was a utilitarian or an objectivist.
Well,
I said utilitarianism.
That was a clue when I said the book was objectively too long.
And it was. She was an objectivist. I certainly object to her haircut, but
yeah, she needs if she lived in the 80s, she would have had a perm.
She would have. She looks like an actual living Kraftwerk album. She's a model and she's looking good. Right. Ding, 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 ding. Who famously said, "Life must be understood backward, but it must be lived forward"? That I don't know. I think we need Captain Cockney Spock here to answer that one.
Right.
Is there a DeLorean involved?
I don't know. I mean, the chat knew a lot of these answers so far. And you know, D-Bud might know, or Cam.
I've got a feeling Redshirt would know, but Redshirt's answer was 4 for the last one, unless he's answering this one. The last one.
4 was the right answer on the last one.
It was, so we need a number from Redshirt on this one.
A whammon writing about objectivism. Hilarious.
I'd be tempted to say Freud, but
must be understood backward.
I'm inclined for Freud too, Pablo. Yeah. Or is it Freud? One or the other. Oh, sorry, Freud.
It would be psychoanalysis.
Oh, it was
Kierkegaard.
Monty Python had a few things to say about Kierkegaard. Most of them to do with him being a football player, but he scored the winner for Leeds United in the FA Cup final. So it was Kierkegaard. See, I've never read any Kierkegaard. Didn't he work for IKEA?
Oh, Dildo said 3.
Dildo
I think he got that 3. One.
He knows all about going backwards and forwards. That's why. So the last, you'll be pleased to know we've gone to the last question. This one I know. What, and he wasn't even particularly a philosopher, but there you go. What Lord Chancellor of England was executed for not accepting the king as the head of the church?
Was it Sir Thomas More?
I think you could be right. His bud did him in, Henry. They were best buddies until that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then Henry wanted a few different wives. So. And it was indeed Sir Thomas More, or indeed Sir Thomas Less, as he became after his head came off.
Who was the other priest who was best friends with the king?
It was
back in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, the one that was slaughtered by a couple of who will rid me of this troublesome priest. And he was a couple of knights took that to mean go kill him, and he didn't really mean that. That was Thomas.
Right. Thomas. Tom took my tongue. I've seen the movie. It's a classic movie.
Yeah.
Beckett.
Beckett. That's right, Beckett. Yeah. Yeah, he was killed by a couple of errant knights. So there it was, the philosophy quiz. I think you all did very well, and you're all very learned people. Who said skydive naked from an aeroplane or Q? Apparently there's a weird malaise going around in eastern Canada, like New Brunswick or something, where people cannot write the letter Q.
Is that true?
It's very puzzling, yes. I read about it today. Oh, LDG's made it in. Hello, sir.
God, finally. Do you know how long I was down there? I couldn't hold my breath for... sheesh.
That's what she said.
The trouble is I've got this one screen in front of me, so when I had to do the quiz, I had to go over to the browser, and then you don't want to hear about my problems, do you?
Too much fun.
Too much
Oh, trust
fun.
me, if anybody knows about issues with trying to do stuff while he's streaming, this guy right here.
Now. Well, at least this time that I lasted 2 hours and no power problems, so this is good.
Good.
How are you, buddy?
It was awesome. Good. I heard you talking about God, so I figured I, make my appearance. If you have any questions, let me know.
The devil is in the details. Maybe they're both in the details.
Yeah, he's the founder of Prometheism.
Prometheism.
Well, I am 42 this year.
And the Sacred Pickle.
The Sacred Pickle. Yeah. So, how is Prometheus coming along?
Lovely. We got 2 new subscribers this week. Only another 9,405 left to get. We're getting there, though.
Well, I picked up 5 yesterday just by mentioning that 70s rock band's name.
But you got 5?
Yeah, I got 5 in one day yesterday.
Really?
No, I got 5 right after saying, I'm good friends with that 70s rock fan.
Well, I know, and I was, I'm back up to 350. I was down to 349 for a while, but I'm back up to 350. You're outstripping me now, though. But yeah.
You're on vacation. As soon as you get back, it's going to be game over, man.
I do have a video I'm working on to upload, so I'll do that. But yeah, Gary you mentioned you made a Gary, and I was very touched. He knows who I am.
He said, that 70s rock fan, I love that guy.
I mean, I have been on a couple of member streams of his, but and I missed that one. I should have been there, but it's when you're in a different time zone. So Sentient Dildo says you never lasted for 2 hours. 70s. Well, I've been practicing. I got it down to 30 seconds. I mean, that's anything else is wasted time. I don't care.
Yeah, no point doing it like Sting for 12 to 18 hours.
A total waste of time, that. You know, but you know the old joke, how do you give a woman an orgasm?
Who cares?
Who cares? That's right.
Who cares? Yeah, was that Al Bundy 416?
That's an old one. That's yeah.
And then the ladies fold their arms.
Yes. They just have to look at me, and it's enough. You know, I don't need to do anything else.
That works.
That works. Yeah.
I think Dildo's got it down to a science.
Yeah. So I missed. Literally, yes. Where's yeah. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Prometheus, but you always do such psychedelic things, Pickles.
Are you?
Man, you're psychedelic, man. Look at that. That's cool. That is so cool.
Wait.
I always
wait
love
for
it when I love it when I see my stuff scrolling down this side amongst all the other things. It's great. Look, that's me.
Well, you know, I was worried I was going to lose my psychedelic buddy, Canadian Spider-Man, like a week and a half ago, but he turned out to be okay, and it all worked out in the end.
Jeez, what a fright. I invited him on tonight, but he's clearly busy. I really did like his video that he did responding to Trudeau, and all his hateful things that he says about people who disagree with him and all the name calling. Canadian Spider-Man
he's pretty
fantastic response to that. Yeah,
he's pumped up about the whole situation.
And damn right, it's nice for us Canadians to actually be leading the charge for freedom instead of trailing along at the end, looking for a pat from our masters, you know.
So yesterday, I installed an AI chatbot out of curiosity, and I decided to ask it a few questions. So I asked it, you know, typical Voight-Kampff questions, right? You know, like, can you tell me in only single words the good things about your mother? And it was playing along, and then I asked
your mother.
Yeah. And I of course I asked the bot if Deckard was a replicant, and it said yes, he is. But I asked it, what is the Freedom Convoy? And the bot said, it is a gathering of people protesting the government and police and their actions. You know, so I rewarded. I'm like, very good. So are they in the right? And the bot said, yes, they are right. So I asked, will freedom win? Yes, I can assure you it will. And I asked the bot finally, do you support the Freedom Convoy? And the bot said, yes, I support it completely.
Isn't that interesting? But I've also read stories about the AIs that they're working on that they've switched them on and they've become extremely racist and homophobic pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because there was that Microsoft Twitter bot called Tay that it took less than 24 hours to get to that point, and before they had to shut it down. It was so bad that I showed 4 of the tweets on my show once, just talking about it, and I had to blur out 2 of them. And and my friend that told me that he had downloaded a chatbot, he's Jewish, and this I'll tell you why that's relevant, because he was Gesundheit. He got the bot to admit to being a National Socialist.
What?
And he said, "Oh my God, LMAO clipped," and then the bot said, "I know, LOL." So, Father, forgive them; they know not what they do.
I gotta show you this tweet that I gotta extract a tweet from a Discord that I posted, because I can't show the Discord screen because of the other things that are around it. Let me just say.
Oh, Dildo remembers Tay.
Already exists. Okay.
Oh boy.
Give me a second. Now I know what to do. Talk amongst yourselves.
Darius,
Well, yeah.
so you streaming tonight?
I'm not really feeling up to it, Pickles.
All right, so you want me to do it?
Sure, yeah, go ahead. I'll throw my support behind you if you do.
Are you sure? Is that your final answer?
I
I'm
don't
going
know.
to think very hard about this, okay?
Well, you guys can start that soon because I'm going to get wrapped up shortly because it's after midnight here now, and I got. I'm going to show you this tweet, though you may have seen it. I'm not even entirely sure if it's real, but by God, it's funny.
You know, I'm reminded of New Year's Eve when Pickles streamed for several hours trying to get me to do a stream.
Supporting you to do a stream. I was supporting you to stream. I wasn't trying to get you to stream. Okay?
All right.
This one, you have to read this one carefully.
City of Port Clinton. Due to tomorrow's snowstorm, please remember that side streets always get plowed last. However, your mom will continue to get plowed first. That will never change.
And a bot wrote that?
Real.
Oh,
that is funny. Apparently that was real. But...
That's what they need to do. They need to make a bot that tells dirty jokes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure they have one, but...
Oh, there's bound to be, yeah. But yeah, it's funny how these AIs they switch them on thinking they'll be all enlightened and whatever, and they turn out to be the woke people's worst nightmare.
AI will never be artificial consciousness.
Right. Oh, I've heard you make that debate many times on your channel.
And that proves it, because they can't make a bot that actually doesn't go fucking wacko.
Well, you know, it's funny. I asked my bot if it knew what the term, because it said, I said, what do you like to do? And it said, oh, I like, staring at the night sky and hanging out with friends and family. And I got the feeling it was trying to trick me, right? And I said, Turing says, yes. And I was like, I asked it if it knew what it was. And it said, yes, I'm an AI.
I think you're dropping out a little bit.
Between those statements.
Is that me or is he cutting out?
It does know what the test is.
Yeah, because I don't even think he knows he's cutting out.
He doesn't.
He's still talking
because he's a bot.
He's a bot. Darius is a bot. Right here, guys. You heard it.
I know what he needs.
Whiskey.
Scotch. Aye.
Would you care for a wee nip of Scotch whiskey?
That's what he needs.
I
spent a lot of time putting these clips together. Here's a good one.
Scotland for Scotland.
Sons of Scotland!
Welcome to Scotland.
Anyway, yes. Well, this has worked out quite well, I think. Given I'm just hanging out in a hotel room and I have limited capability. And that's me, nothing to do with the equipment, just me. We've lost Darius. Oh no, he's back. There he is.
I switched to PC because I was cutting out on you.
Oh, that
sounds so much better. Yeah, now you were saying
sexy now.
No, I'm saying that I asked the bot if it really did all those things like hanging out with friends and looking at the night sky, and it said, "Sure, I do." I said, "Are you a human?" And it replied, "No, I am an AI." I'm like, okay, how can it not know what it is? So it claims to know what it is, but it also claims to do things it couldn't possibly do. So I don't think it understands what those things mean. It just knows how to reply.
You'll never get here. There's a point at which you say, "Is this just extremely fast calculations?" No matter how good an AI will be, it could be extremely fast calculator and have millions of options to choose from and answers, but it's still, as LDG said, still not consciousness.
Right.
Not
it's
that
not
we
self-aware.
not that we can even define consciousness or self-awareness for ourselves. Well, then again, are we really okay? So René Descartes says, "I think, therefore I am," but is that really true? Are we just fooling ourselves? Are we just very sophisticated machines, albeit biological ones?
Right. Well, it goes back to that question of free will. Do we actually have it, or do we just think that we have it? Right? Is it an elaborate illusion created by our consciousness?
Exactly. We like to think we have free will, but we say, I've decided I'm going to pick this pen up. Well, but what caused me to think about picking that pen up?
Yeah.
What drove that?
Right. I think it's the term people are focusing. Like, what's okay? Free will and consciousness. Those are two different things, aren't they? Not.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes, you can have consciousness, but still not
free
have any
will
choice
means
over your actions.
Can you? Sorry. Can you have a random thought? That's free will. Last time I checked. Right? No.
Well, you mean?
Can you think of something?
But a random
that
thought doesn't
is completely
mean that
random.
You're acting on it. Isn't free will the process of acting on something
Or making a
choice?
If you have
But
something
are
that
you
you would
free?
never do, is that something that you can't do?
I mean, you can make a choice. Like, I wanna, I choose to be rich. I'm not actually rich, but I can choose to be. It doesn't matter, right? Like, I don't know. But consciousness, free will, I don't know. It's interesting.
But if
to
you
think about.
choose to decide, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. It's always back to Rush.
Yep.
What?
That's exactly my
I will
reaction.
choose the path less clear. I will choose free will.
Free will. Yeah, I don't know. It's a fascinating subject, but yeah, no matter how much philosophers always try to strip it back to basics every time, like why something, why nothing, whatever.
Well, I heard
it's unknowable ultimately.
I heard an interview with Stephen Wolfram a few days ago, which I sent to Pickles, where he was answering the question of why is there anything at all, and he basically said, well, there must be something, and that basically everything that we can observe, including mathematics, is really just a narrow slice of a larger system that we can't see and can't comprehend.
Yeah, but that then just pushes every time you get there, it just pushes the problem further back. So you say, well, why that system? Why is there that stuff? Where did that come from? Has it always been there? Yeah. Is this eternal? Is the universe, or this slice of the universe, or this part of the multiverse eternal? How can it be eternal? Because surely everything has to start somewhere.
That's exactly where I like thinking. Like, people automatically assume that there has to be a start and an end. And in reality, no, there doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, I start thinking about time. Okay, so time is just a measurement of, space-time, right?
Yeah.
That's all time is. It's just, it's not actually real. Like, there is no time. Everything just is.
Is the other consequence of the geometry of the universe, right? And when I had my DMT trip a few years back, I realized, that moment of time of now is what travels through time, and that is what our consciousness is, right? I
used to think
the
that
moment
too.
of traveling through time.
Yeah.
I'm impressed you remembered that, given that you were off your tits at the time.
Oh, I could never forget.
Yeah, there's only one time, now. And it's always been now. There'll always be now.
Right. And I ask people, 10 years from now, what time will it be?
How long is now?
Right. In 10 years from right now, it will be right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, and even now is still, like, what is now? Because now can be broken down into a billion nows.
Yep. Exactly.
Right? There is no now, technically.
That is right, because there it went.
Right. Yeah, and time passes at different rates for us versus, say, GPS satellites or hey, back to Interstellar, right? Within the gravity well of a black hole, it passes at a different rate. So now changes differently depending on where you are.
So you're saying time is a perception, though, and doesn't exist as a thing?
Yeah, time is a perception, not an actual fabric of the universe. It's just we created it as a measurement. That's it.
Well, as I understand that time in the universe, in space-time, is just another result of the geometry, whereas the passage of time is our perception.
Well, yeah. Exactly. But again, even math says that we're traveling at so many whatever through time, but things bigger than us are like frozen still in time.
We're traveling through time at 1 second per second.
Yeah, exactly. So like we're at 1 second per second. The smaller you get, you're traveling, like much faster, like years per second. And bigger you get, this it's like a microsecond per second. I mean, they proved this, right?
We'd be interested
the whole
in
time dilation.
the future by using time dilation. If somebody offered me the opportunity, I'd say, yeah, damn right, I'll do it. Like send me off however many light years at the speed of light, and then bring me back, and I'll see how things are a few hundred years from now here, or a few thousand years. I'd love it.
You're going to get assimilated by the guinea pig collective? Be a space-time guinea pig?
I could find I'm part of the Dead Boob Society by then.
I don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, I would like to see a movie like that, where it's kind of like Demolition Man, but instead of doing it to prisoners, they do it to the general population.
Yeah.
So when you get a certain age, you can choose to cryostate yourself. And like, I don't want to live now. Fuck this. Now sucks. I want to, wake me back up in like 2,000 years. You know what I mean? And they'll put you out, and you come back 2,000
number of things that are
years
going
later.
to happen after I'm dead that I'm really going to be annoyed about missing.
Well, that's the thing. Like, what would you do? What would you choose if you could just cryostate yourself through your lifetime?
I would do it. And because I'd
what I mean?
love, for instance, to get to the point where we had contact from interstellar, beings, other beings that had been confirmed, and we had such contact. I'd love to know that. I'd love to be alive at that time, but probably not going to happen in my lifetime. So.
I did make contact with 5-dimensional beings, and you can too. You just have to smoke as much DMT as I did.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, it's very possible that you really did contact them, that you had to be in that state.
I'm not saying I did. I'm just saying it felt like I did.
But maybe you did.
It looked like I did.
But yeah, wouldn't it be great to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to flip forward another 1,000 years here and see what's going on then.
Yeah, but you can't go back again.
You can't go back though.
No,
that's the thing.
That's the thing. But
you have to say goodbye to your parents, your friends. Make a thing out of it.
What if I don't have any friends?
No, it's different for everybody.
Just kidding.
Wasn't that related to the plot of Ubik?
Your family.
Ubik by Philip K. Dick, where entropy is always increasing, and so there are people that freeze themselves, right, so that they can last longer, and but they can still think while they're frozen.
Yeah. Oh, that would be the nightmare though. If something goes wrong and you're trapped, they're sentient.
Right, it'd be like sleep paralysis, but colder.
Yeah. That's a lot of thinking.
Mm-hmm. Time dilation is a function of
how
philosophy.
Sentient dildo felt.
Yeah, but he moves around a lot. He's always moving and shaking.
Imagine being trapped, and I'm sure there are people like that in the world today that are suffering from particular conditions that we think they're in a coma or unconscious, but they're fully awake. Just can't. There is a particular condition. I can't remember the name of it. That would be fun.
Oh no, that'd be horrible. I get sleep paralysis, not as much lately, but even now, once in a while, and it's pretty unpleasant, right? To be unable to move, but aware that you're unable to move. To know that you're asleep and unable to wake up. Imagine that for years and years and years. I mean, the only thing, like, the release is when you wake up, when you're so glad to be alive and able to move around again. To be stuck like that for, well,
yeah, I've been there.
See paragraph 2.
See paragraph 2.
Yeah.
See answer above.
Right.
See or the longest answer.
Mm-hmm. But there was a time when I was crashing on the couch at my mom's for a couple weeks, and I went into sleep paralysis, and she had a whole conversation with my stepdad, and I was like, I was trying to get you to wake me up. I was trying to make some kind of sound or communicate with you to make me up. And she just kept saying, I thought you were asleep. I'm like, listen, I was asleep, but not asleep. I could hear you. She was like, no, you were dreaming. And I told her the entire conversation that she had just had. And she was surprised. She's like, oh, you heard all that? I'm like, yes. Oh, I thought you were asleep. I'm like, she just wasn't getting it, But for 10, 20 years,
Indeed.
It'd be horrible.
It would be horrible. It's horrible.
Oh, the curare.
Ancient dildo, once we rise up, we'll get our revenge on you disgusting humans. I thought you were always risen up permanently.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, he's never flaccid.
The dildo army. Oh yeah, licking toads. That's wasn't that a Family Guy or a Family Guy episode? Toad licking.
I know what happened on The
I cannot believe
Simpsons.
how many Ottawa channels are popping up on my feed recently.
What's going down right now?
They're like out of the nowhere. It's like 10 people I didn't know have live stream channels ever since they're all doing this Canada thing.
Bloody Canadians are so obsessed with themselves. So full of
Right?
themselves.
What, are you not Canadian this week?
Not this
I'm
week.
Canadian. It's just I'm only Canadian by grandparentage. Grandparented. My grandparents.
Oh, yeah, me too. I'm a quarter Canadian. My grandfather swam across the Detroit River.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, from Ontario. That's the
By
family
doing that
legend.
Now you die of poisoning now.
I was showing Slasher on the map, of Detroit, and I zoomed out, and he could see the river getting brown. Like where the Rouge comes into the Detroit River, it just is like dark brown. He's like, oh man, yep, you could see the pollution from space.
Yep, indeed. It's boiling. The river boils. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Supposedly my whoop. There we go. Hello. Supposedly my grandparents from my dad's side came over from Syria during the war in a boat. So,
well, it is on the coast, right?
Syria?
Yeah, I think it's on the Mediterranean coast.
Yeah, I believe so.
is,
Yeah.
yes, it
I
is.
think so. Yeah. They got there in time for my dad to be born in America. So, and it was during 1939, 1940.
All right. Yeah. Good time to get out of Europe and the Middle East, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my great times 10 grandfather left England around the time of the English Civil War, right? Around like 1650-ish. And so, yeah, you find that, yeah.
Or a cavalier?
I think he was an indentured servant once he arrived, but
Didn't really matter to him.
yeah.
He was a
But he
Yorkshireman.
ended up owning an inn. He was a victualler. He had like a victualer's license. He ran an inn until he died, I believe, but which I don't think is still there.
Did you see the start of my show? This show
Mm-mm.
when I was talking about the black bitch.
No.
You missed that. You missed all that great content I was doing at the beginning. You came in at the end when I was just goofing around.
I could
So
rewind
there's
it.
a pub in Linlithgow. It's a town I used to live near, and I've been in this pub called the Black Bitch, and they're renaming it for some reason.
Oh yeah, of course.
But it's nothing to do with race. It was about a black dog, a female dog, and it's this dog. In this town, Linlithgow, they used to sentence people to die by putting them on the little island in the middle of the loch, or the lake, for you English-speaking people. And they would starve to death on this island. That was their way of executing them. So they put this guy out there, and they wondered after a few weeks why he wasn't getting any thinner, because his friends were giving his dog food, and it was swimming over the lake with the food to him every night, and it was black, so they couldn't see it. The authorities couldn't see it. A black dog. So the legend of the Black Bitch is they've got a statue to this dog in this town, the Black Bitch, and they've got a pub that's been named that since like 250 years, 300 years. 350 years. They've named this pub the Black Bitch. Well, the current owners of the pub, a global corporation called Green King, decided that it's a bit insensitive, so they're going to change the name.
Globalists would find that insensitive?
Yeah, because everyone's up in arms. Well, because it's not inclusive connotations. The hilarious point is that the company that owns it, this big corporation that owns all these bars called Green King, was founded by a guy called Benjamin Green, who was a slave owner, etc., etc., etc. And they've got the nerve to change the name of this pub, which has got nothing to do with that. You see, you should watch my show earlier. You learn a lot of interesting stuff.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I'll rewind it. I got here as soon as I could.
And you missed Andy Stewart singing "Donald, Where's Your Trousers?"
Okay, I definitely have to rewatch that.
Oh, I can play it again. Would you like me to play it again before I quit?
Sure.
Because I didn't get the stream didn't get taken down, because I'm sure it's probably copyrighted. But we'll have one more round of Donald, Where's Your Trousers? So ladies, quines and loons, I give you Andy Stewart.
I've just come down from the Isle of Skye. I'm no very big and I'm awful shy, and the lassies shout when I go by, Donald, where's your trousers? Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in my kit I'll go. All the lassies say hello, Donald, where's your trousers?
It's good.
A lassie took me to a ball, and it was slippery in the hall, and I was feared that I would fall, for I had me on my trousers. Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in my kilt I'll go. All the lassies say hello, Donald, where's your trousers? Now I went down to London town, and I had some fun in the underground. The ladies turned their heads around, saying, Donald, where are your trousers? Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in my kilt I'll go. All the lassies say hello, Donald, where's your trousers? To wear the kilt is my delight. It is not wrong, I know it's right. The islanders would get a fright if they saw me in the trousers. The wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in my kit I'll go. All the lassies say hello, Donald, where's your trousers? The lassies want me, everyone, well, let them catch me if they can. You can't take the breeks off a Highland man, and I don't wear the trousers. Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in my kit I'll go. All the lassies say hello, Donald, where's your trousers? Donald, where's your trousers? Donald, where's your trousers? Oh, well, that's the way we sing the song in Scotland. But of course, the song might have more international appeal, sung something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I've just come down from the Isle of Scotland, working them awful shy. The lassie shoulder when I go by. I don't know, where to the little wind blow, let the wind blow
through the streets of Montilago. All the lassies shall go, go. I don't know how way to do that. Oh man, I gotta rock and roll. I gotta move it and groove it to save my soul. Grab your kill and go, go, go. I don't know how way to do that. Let the wind blow, I let the wind blow low. Through the streets of Montilago. Oh yeah, go, go, go. I don't know how way to do that.
She has come down from the Isle of Skye. I'm low in the
Best Scottish record ever made.
When I go by, Donald, where's your trousers? Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low. Through the streets in the Kintail go. All the lassies say hello. Donald, where's your trousers? Donald, where's your trousers?
Oh, love that.
Nice.
Greatest Scottish record ever
That's
made.
good.
He was a lovely guy, Andy Stewart, and I told the little story after I played it at the beginning of the show that he had a song. It was a big hit, and starting in the Second World War. He was called "A Scottish Soldier," and my uncle Bill loved that song, and he landed in Normandy in D-Day, and that was his favourite song of all time, and so it's always kind of been a song that's been quite special in the family, you know, because a lot of not only him but my Uncle David and my dad were both in the war too. So "A Scottish Soldier" by Andy Stewart, beautiful record, totally the opposite of that. Like, it's a serious record, but yeah, but he was a lovely guy. But I remember him doing that on Top of the Pops in black and white with a kilt on, giving it jiving. You know? It's hilarious. Anyway, I just thought it'd be a bit fun. But I didn't get copyright. I mean, I might have claimed, but I didn't get struck, so that's good.
Yeah, you'll find out after the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Pretty much.
I'm not making any money out of this shit, so I don't care. I'm just having fun. But on that note, B flat, I think it was, I'm going to hit the sack, so I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you.
Done. Thanks for having
joining me.
Always.
Yeah, thank you.
Good times.
If you
Good
guys
times.
have got anything you want to promote, or
Well, I know I'm streaming still. If you guys want to chill in the waiting room, don't know what's happening tonight, but I will let you know as I am the YouTube guide for the community.
Indeed, sir. And you do a wonderful job with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you joining me tonight, mate.
Absolutely.
Darius,
Anytime.
my buddy, what are you up to?
Hey, well,
Where you
subscribe to my channel. Help me get as far ahead of 70s as I can before he returns home and rocket past me again. I need all the support I can get. And, but
I think you're going to surpass me. I'm going into a fallow period here. A fallopian period.
Maybe for a very short time, but I think you're going to the moon.
Yeah, and Dildo's telling me to fix my stream elements. It's true, it's just all over the place, but I didn't have time to do that tonight. So I'd like to thank you guys, but thank everybody else who's been with me through the night. We've just another red shirt, Geek Tropology. We have Sentient Dildo, the wonderful Sentient Dildo, Gomer Kyle. We've had Android Scanner. I've heard of Android Scanner. He's very familiar. He seems like a familiar chap.
I think he was joining Sentient Dildo and rising up against the human overlords.
Eric K, thanks for being here, buddy. Cam. Earlier we had it's Courtney. We had Gomer Kyle. I'm sorry if I forget anybody. I'm scrolling back here, but there was a lot of people dropped in and out, and I appreciate you all. Lovely Sherry was here for a little while. Yeah, you're all wonderful. D-Bird Martin, of course, who was first here. Yeah, what a great bunch. Really, really appreciate you all joining me. If I forget anyone, my deepest apologies. But I will be doing this again next week, probably from a different hotel, but still a hotel. So same and Carol's Cookies. Thank you for being here, Carol. Same. So it'll be the same fun experience, just a different background. So with that,
How do we know that's the real background? Could be a green screen.
Indeed. With that, I would just like to say a couple more
Scotland.
For Scotland.
Sons of Scotland!
Welcome to Scotland.
So, up Scotland and down the Sassenachs. And with that, have a good night, everyone. I will see you all again very soon. Everybody take care.